You know, in African home, if you grew up, your mother would always tell you, usikalie hizi vitambaa ni za wageni. And those vitambas would be preserved. This week, us in Kenya, we provided a masterpiece of an event. It was well coordinated, well choreographed. All the leaders went. But the question is, it is an African climate summit. Before we go for the COP28 in Abu Dhabi or in the United Arab Emirates, I don't know whether we have achieved our goals for that event, or ni vyombo tu watu walikula na wakarudisha masahani kwa store.
You know what's funny?
Yes.
I saw one of these ladies from the electoral, Apombe?
Rosemary Akombe.
Akombe, yeah,
Yes.
she had written that, you know, Kenyans must be the biggest. She doesn't understand why we don't have comedy shows or films, big films,
Yeah.
because somehow she was alluding, it's not my words, her words, to the fact that, you know, we are really championing this climate change, but really, in reality, apparently, we are not doing much. And then I saw somebody comment, please, wacha kuongea, wageni wajatoka.
Too much, she's
like,
exposing too much.
I don't expose too much, because the guests are still here.
Yes.
But I do think so that, you know, Africa is one of the biggest continents that have really been affected by the climate change.
Yes.
We are really feeling it. From food production to the fact that we don't even subsidize our farmers. The European farmer is subsidized. We have things being forced on our throat. We have, in terms of even the funding system, the way the world money operates, and that is really being talked about. Why is Africa having a different way of repaying their debt, and the other countries are not having the same? So we are really feeling this, and I think so that even the children in primary schools are feeling the effect of climate change. And what I like about our president is, I liked his speech. It was really like, we are taking responsibility and we are doing this. I personally had it. He's just not an orator. He really said it well, and I think he owns it. And before that, already we were planting trees. So I think so that from where I sit, I plant trees in my garden. The rosemary I already mentioned, I contributed. No, for real, I love to feed like 1,000 people in one of the dinner settings. And so I think Kenyans really understand it.
Well, let's be real. Let's be real.
Yeah.
The average Kenyan could care less about climate change if it does not affect their bottom line, and that's the truth. There's a lot of showmanship. Let me applaud you guys. Yes, he drove his that little car, that little thing that you even look at, that little toy that you give your little 10-year-old. That he drove the e-car. That what is that? Now is that the dream car that every other Kenyan want to save up for? No. That's not gonna happen. Are there actually stations with KPLC giving blackouts? Are we actually gonna buy electric vehicles on average in Kenya in the next 5 or 10 years? Let's do this. No, that's just a bunch of lip service, which is good, because that's what happens a lot of these times. Because guess what happened? We also had an agreement way back when I was born in the year 1990. That was a long time ago. We also had another agreement as Africans. What did we do? Lip service. And it's good to give lip service. Even us men, we give lip service to a lot of ladies out there, and it works. But then now here's the thing. When you actually even do a lot of lip service, it makes you feel like, oh yeah, we're working. We're doing something. We're getting somewhere. We're getting nowhere. We're just doing a lot of talking, which is actually okay, because this kind of is a summit to just talk about things that we actually hope to implement, but we're actually going to do those things. Let's wait and see in the next 20 or so, 30 years. Then we talk about maybe 2050, and we say, but it's that thing that we actually agreed on as Africans. But the one good thing I would even say is that now Africans have actually come together in one voice. So that now we're actually able to say, now, because I'm thinking that these summits are primarily like a bargaining chip, in the sense that we Africans, we want this. So when we go to UAE, we're going to be able to present this in one voice. All right? So as a bargaining chip to actually get resources to actually now be able to implement this. Now, whether those if it be implemented, that'll be another thing. But what do you think, politician?
Well, well, let's give credit where credit is due, because for 33 years, this is the first time that the conversation has come home to Africa, and we are engaging now in negotiations and just talking about climate change as Africa. So that's a very big thing for Africa, and for it happening in Kenya, that is a big deal, that we were given a chance to actually host other African leaders here in Kenya. But my question would be, do Kenyans really understand what climate change is, really? So I'm happy it was brought here in Kenya, because then now we can actually interrogate whether Kenyans understand what climate change is to them. And because in climate change summits, they use very big words. Like when I was looking at the definition of climate change itself, you would see words like fossil fuels, and unashanga, what is fossil fuels really? And it's just makaa, it is oil, it is gas. So I think the language should be simplified for the common Mwananchi. When you talk about greenhouse gases, what is that? I think they should just say carbon monoxide and other greenhouse gases. That way you're bringing the conversation closer to the common Mwananchi, that ukitumia jiko ya makaa, then you're basically producing carbon monoxide that will cover the earth and thus cause climate change. So I feel like those are things that we need to interrogate as Kenyans.